Well,
All
hello,
right.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Regibog cast. In today's episode, we shall be talking about, well, none other than Poppy's Playtime. Now, what is Poppy's Playtime, you might ask? Now, Poppy's Playtime is a puzzle horror game that has been released in 2022 by a small studio called Mob Games, and now they are ridiculously successful. Can I say like a parody of Five Nights at Freddy's? But actually, no, it isn't because it does not involve animatronics. But what it does involve is toys. Toys that are a bit questionable, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
For instance, a giant plush that has very funny looking teeth. Anyway, so, despite the fact that this game came out in 2022 and it also has its own console versions as well, what else do they have? I don't know.
How's
I
the
don't
console
really.
version?
It's very good. I mean, weirdly, you can play it on a PS5 and a PS4.
Can you play on the Switch?
Is on the Nintendo Switch, but only the first chapter though.
Okay, that is not good.
No, actually, even the second one. Nah. Okay, you can't play. Okay, only the first chapter. No, the second chapter. You have to. Nah, second one. Someone modded his own Switch. No good. Anyway, let's start off. Okay, so we should start. Okay, so the story of Poppy Playtime goes like this. Okay, so it all started back in 19. It says it is not clear when exactly the game is placed, but Playtime Co. was established in 1930 and stayed business well into the 60s, with the game's namesake, Poppy Playtime, having come out in 1950, and the last big toy to make a mascot status being BoogieBot in 1993. So
Okay.
that's technically when it's set. So
Okay.
so it all started when, of course, Edward was it some guy named Ludwig, Elliot Ludwig. So Elliot Ludwig, he is the major. He's a major character. He is the founder and overseer of Poppy Playtime. Now, Elliot, he's been shown once on the first chapter, uh, where he decided to create where he was creating Poppy. All right. Now, since Playtime Co. was founded in 1930 by the brilliant Elliot Ludwig, like his namesake, Ludwig was a visionary and creative
Mm-hmm.
genius. Ludwig
Mm.
devoted every waking second of his life to bring joy to children. However, this relentless work ethic came at a cost of his personal life, as his wife Molly divorced him in 1930. Despite this, as well as an unfortunate family death occurring in the 60s, Elliot never stopped creating. Ludwig, okay, revolutionized the toy industry and brought happiness to millions of around the globe. So the death actually was his own daughter. His own daughter died. All right. At some point in time, Elliot announced the opening of Playcare, which is an orphanage right next to the factory. So he stated that a child should never be left unloved and should have someone to comfort them. And when they see a monster in their closet, he then expresses his hopes that Playcare will bring joy, inspiration, and smiles to every child who enters the orphanage. So that's the main. So that's the. He's not the, of course, the main character, but he's the the creator, you can say. All right, next one is we're gonna talk about chapter one, the first chapter of Poppy's Playtime. Now it's called A Tight Squeeze. All right, which was actually released in 2021. My bad, I said 2022. The plot of the chapter revolves an ex-employee, which is the player, of the toy manufacturing company who receives a letter on finding the find the flower. All right, but it gets more than that. Okay, it gets further more than that.
Mm.
So the chapter begins when the player receives an anonymous letter inviting him back to the factory to find a company staff with an image of a poppy representing the location, and they must find a yellow VHS tape VHA. How the fuck is
VSH,
VHS?
ESH,
VH. You,
VHS,
you you can't even say either.
VHS, VHS.
Okay, yes, VHS tape is also included with the message. After that, we're going to talk about on the perspective of the player, okay? So once they watch the VHS tape, they make their way to the abandoned factory. And after solving a code, which is very simple, you just have to look at a train from above, which is in order of green, pink, yellow, and red, uh, or it could be in reverse. They have access to the storage room where they have the iconic grab pack, which is literally a backpack with two extendable arms. And then comes another VHS tape that explains how to use the grab pack. And then after making the way to the main wing area, they are welcomed by a giant statue of Huggy Wuggy. So they have to go left. Apparently, I'm just reading what the plot says here. The power will burn out, and the player will need to collect a key to unlock the door to the power room. After reconnecting the wires using the grab pack and turning the power back on, because as it turns out, the grab pack can apparently conduct electricity. Along with the lights, they will need
This is a
to move to another.
multifunctional too.
It is a multifunctional tool,
Mm.
and then once you finish powering up the power room, you'll find out that Huggy Wuggy is gone.
Mm.
Yes. Afterwards, the player will make their way to the warehouse where they have to find four power cells to activate the crane and collect the grab packs second hand. So in the first part you only have one hand, then you get a second one. Then the player will enter the conveyor belt that transfer toy parts to make it to the make a friend machine and fix the power to enable the conveyor belt to move. Once they arrive, they will need to turn on the power upstairs and make their own cat bee, which is a hybrid between a cat and a bee. Which actually is actually just a cat wearing a bee costume. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know really. The player then places their toy in the scanning device to unlock the door, but instead of leaving, Huggy Huggy Wuggy will emerge and chase them around the room until they enter the ventilation system next to Make a Friend machine. So once you create Cat B, there is a corridor. You go through that corridor, and Huggy Wuggy will just pop out, just staring at you. But of course, it will kill you. All right. So once the ventilation system opened, and you have to run away from Huggy Wuggy, who is following them, trying to hug them to death, which is why the name is called Huggy Wuggy. Once the player leaves the vent, the exit will be closed shut behind them. They will have to pull down a rather heavy box from above that will break the bridge to stop Huggy Wuggy from reaching them. And finally, the player will walk along the metal gratings until they pick up the black VHS tape, which is titled what is it titled? Experiment 1006. All right. So experiment 1006 actually actually says that on August 8th, 1995, the scientists list the video as the final log relation to experiment 1006, who also goes under the uh, alias
L-
alias
yeah, alias,
alias
alias.
alias the prototype. The scientist logs to current the st- to the scientist logs to current state of the prototype, explaining that his precise coordination and cooperation remains. However, unlike in prior logs, the prototype seems to have been missing for some time. In the background of the final log, people can be heard screaming as the monsters roam freely around the factory. The scientist continues to explain that without the prototype, their experimenting had gone wrong, and they can't continue. The scientist stops speaking for a brief second to the surprise of a monster banging on his door. The scientist finishes the tape by explaining any future viewer that if they want to continue the experimentation that was performed with Playtime Code, they must safely confine the monsters at a secure location. The scientist attempts to conclude the tape by explaining that, understood or not, the experiments created was a large breakthrough, and science and one more discovery will continue the work the scientist performed. The monster pounding on the scientist's door finally breaks the door open, and the scientist is killed. Oh, by the way, yes, there were other VHS tapes earlier, so we can read on to the blue one, which was the grab pack training, but we don't need to read through that anymore. So after that, after finding the VHS tape and explaining what a summarized, the player will go down some stairs until they reach a door with red and black light moving around, similar to those of a poppy flower. I mean, you know how poppies look like anyway. World War One memorial. That's actually what a poppy is. Where Poppy Playtime is situated. Now she is stuck inside a glass box. All right. Now, after opening the door, the lights will flicker as Poppy's eyes open, and chapter one comes to an end. This is chapter one.
God damn, that's a
The
big summary.
I know. Next one is chapter two. So chapter two explains this. Now, after the events of chapter one, a tight squeeze, the player follows Poppy, who, in response to their rescue, decides to help them escape via the game station, located deep under the facility. This plan is soon vandalized as the main antagonist, Mommy Longlegs, assaults and snatches Poppy, forcing the player to drop down to attempt to save her. Once in the station, Mommy Longlegs confronts the player, stating that in order to escape, the player must play 3 games that become very difficult. The first game is musical memory, or as many would say, Simon Says, where the player has to select the correct buttons before Bonzo Bunny, who is a bunny that has what does he have on his hands? I have no clue, but I don't know what they're called, but it's what you see on a drum set before Bonzo Bunny can kill them. This will gradually get faster until the game malfunction and emergency stop is required. The player then find themselves in a warehouse full of rejected toys, where there is a switch to uh, unlock the door that leads back to the game station. Would you like to know the rejected toy room?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, so one of the toys in question is called. Okay, so there are about 9, 10, 11 toys. Actually, 10 toys. Sorry, 10 toys have been rejected. The first one is called Sir Poops a Lot, which is literally well, the reason why it was rejected because extremely negative reception from various focus groups. The other one, the next one is called Kick Me Paul, and apparently the reason why it was rejected is because no one likes Paul. Another one is called Push Me Paul. Then another one was called Owen the Oven. Which was rejected because there were multiple cases of children receiving third-degree burns. Next one is called Pet Stones, a pet stone, which is literally something that actually happened in real life. There are people who actually have pet stones and apparently became a business. Another one is called Orange Robot Toy. After considering both options, management had decided to go with Mommy Longlegs as the Playtime Co's stretch toy concept. Next one is called Daisy, named as the marionette, straight out of FNAF. Too scary for young children. Children test audiences cry during Daisy's performances. Next one is called Barrel Huggies. Was rejected because it was a choking hazard, and the children tried to eat from the barrel, thinking it was candy.
What was it
Next,
instead?
it was about I don't know. It was fucking I don't know what it was really. Next one was a rejected shipment. Where the entire batch of toys is miscolored due to Patty Hall sabotaging the painting machine. Who the hell Patty Hall is? And then the last
Damon.
one, and the last ones are the two concepts for Mommy Longlegs for being too freaky for target demographic, and the last one is that's it, and that's it. So those are the rejected toys.
Rejected toys.
Oh yes, and the last
Okay.
one is and last one is Bron the Brontosaurus.
Braun the Brontosaurus. Okay.
Okay. Afterwards, the second game is Wacka Wuggy. So it's similar to Whack a Mole, where you see in arcades, where the player must hit the mini Huggies with the grab pack as they're coming out the holes in the wall, and that's it. The next one is called Statues, similar to the Squid Game, Red Light Green Light, where the player navigates a maze while being pursued by PJ Pugapilla, which is a hybrid between a dog and a caterpillar, and the player stops when the lights turn on and can move when the lights go off. The player escapes the third game, which is obviously rigged. The ending is blocked by debris. However, this infuriates Mommy Longlegs in the process, who starts hunting down the player, claiming they quote unquote cheated, and that she's going to play one last game called Hide and Seek. After Mummy's relentless chase, the player will then trap Mummy in a grinder and activate the lever, killing her. After this, a mysterious claw like hand, also known as Experiment 1006, appears from the bottom of the partially closed door and drags Mummy's severed torso into the dark. Before the door to the right opens, the player is let back into the game station, navigating Bay number 9, and lets them find a trapped Poppy. So the mysterious claw hand we know is Experiment 1006. So people are wondering who could be what is it? Experiment 006, and we will come later. Next one. So anyway, later, and Poppy then boards the train. So and then while the player inputs the train code correctly, the train begins to move. However, Poppy, witnessing their outstanding agility and intelligence, deems they are too perfect to lose and changes the train's direction at the last second. Poppy then said she had much time to think and reflect, and that together she and the player can set things right. Before she can, the sound of a digital alarm clock cuts her off, leaving her with enough time to exclaim what is before the audio is cut off. The train begins to accelerate at an alarming pace. The player attempts to use the emergency stop, but the train derails and crashes, where they end up in the play care. And the
That's the
chapter,
second finishes it.
that's the second
Okay.
chapter.
Mm.
Yes, yes. Next, down the final chapter, last chapter, which we are in, is far longer than is actually much more longer somehow, but
Mm.
it's okay. So after the
Because there's so
trial,
much stuff. It took them nearly a year to make, isn't it?
yeah, nearly a year to create that. How long do you think the chapter four is gonna? How long do you think chapter four would take to make? One whole year.
2 years.
Think about GTA, eh?
Mm.
With GTA. Yo, I can't imagine if the devs of for GTA for let's say the devs, Rockstar decides to delay the release of GTA 6.
Oof.
Oh, many people will be bloody livid, mate. So, all right, continuing with this. After the train crashed from Chapter 2, Flying a Web, the player is thrown down a chute by Catnap into a trash compactor. After escaping, the player makes their way through a series of maintenance tunnels, hearing a phone ringing in the distance of in the process of escaping. Finding and answering the phone, the player finds themselves communicating with an unknown character who states his name to be Ollie. With this newfound phone, Ollie promised to guide the player while explaining the ongoing situation. The player returns to the train and proceeds to enter Playcare through Elliot's Express, which is a cable car that rides to the Playcare. Upon arriving at Playcare, Ollie gives the player a key to the gas production zone, which is used to power the building but also produces a gas called the red smoke. Now, the red smoke, also known as the poppy gas, is a poppy-based gas. Let me see. Let me finish seeing this. Is a poppy-based gas that is produced in the Playcast gas production zone. It was used by Playtime Co. employees to put children to sleep. It was created to put the kids to sleep and experiment on them at the same time. In 1990, a red smoke delivery apparatus was attached to Catnap's respiratory system to allow him to pour out the smoke from his mouth onto the children. Now, do you want to now the effects of the red smoke is that whoever inhales it goes to sleep.
So
However,
it's
it
like
has
a
been
hallucination gas.
yes, however, I'm not done here. It has been noted on multiple occasions that the smoke also causes intense nightmares and hallucinations. For example, Marie Payne saw some of colorless monster after inhaling the smoke. The player was also affected by smoke when first entering the home sweet home. Okay, we'll come. Okay, that's literally later. Yes. Now, continuing with this, after activating the console, the power goes out. Ollie tasks the player with reactivating power and using backup generators from several locations to power the gas production to reach catnap. Ollie then tells the player to enter home sweet home first. The abandoned residence for all orphan children. After entering the home sweet home, the player inhales the red smoke, resulting in catnap manipulating them into believing they're still conscious while they can be seen unconscious in the real world. They make through a maze of seemingly end corridors while also coming up upon an audio recording, which states uh, which is the recording is heard on a radio in different areas. The recording tells of a news about child's body found in the late Ed Elliot Ludwig's home. We don't know who the child is. That claiming a dead child. Yeah, okay. The player reaches the end of the corridor where they watch a tape. All right, they watch a tape welcoming employees to the Playtime Co. The tape becomes more and more disturbing, beginning to call out the player specifically for returning and telling them of the incomprehensible horrors that now inhabit the factory. The player is forced to look at the screen until a distorted, twisted version of Huggy Wuggy crawls out of the television. The player, in a futile attempt tries to run away, but they're soon caught and eaten. To then wake up in the real home sweet home, discovering a gas mask soon after. After activating the home sweet home generator and leaving, Kissy Missy, the pink Huggy Wuggy, attempts to kill the player until she is stopped by Poppy. Remorseful Poppy explains that the player needs to get rid of the monsters who tortured them. She explains that the prototype will kill the player if they try to escape, and that he needs to be killed. Ollie tells the player to go to the school. Actually, is this one involved? Nope. Okay. Go to the school to restore power to it. While turning on the generator, the player encounters Miss Delight. Editor, can you please get a photo of Miss Delight back here? Thank you. Now, that is a creepy bitch. Now, there are two versions of Miss Delight. One of them is where she just has a very, very strong smile, whereas the hostile version of her looks very not so good. Okay. Now, Miss Delight is a mascot created by Playtime Co. By Playtime Co. She is an anatomy teacher who resides in the school alongside her now deceased sisters. So well, the sisters are pretty much just other versions of her. So the history of so this is the backstory of Mr. Light. So Mr. Light, actually no, I'll come to the story of the backstory later. The only remaining teacher, so she's the only remaining teacher of the school who was abandoned by her co-workers due to their constant need for flesh to feast upon. Mr. Light continuously threatens the player through the school's PA system after they turn the power back on. She damages the generator before chasing the player through various corridors and classrooms, only moving when they look away or when the lights turn off. As the player nears the school's maintenance exit, Mr. Light abandons her movement rule and charges at the player, who brings a gate down onto her, causing her to instantly die. Afterwards, the player obtains the orange hand. Well, it was actually more red than orange, and makes their way into the caverns of Playcare. There, after completing several puzzles, they see Catnap worshipping a shrine of the prototype. Catnap doesn't notice the player, vanishing after they look away. The player then enters the playhouse through the caves, where they fend off a horde of meany smiling critters via the orange hand because it shoots a
Yeah, that was
flare.
creepy, mate. I'm not gonna lie. That critters.
The smiling critters, they're like all the way. Mate, I would hate. This is why I did not play chat. I did not play it. Good thing I did not play it. On their way out, they encountered a locked up Dog Day. Is there a story for Dog Day? Yes, there is. Yes, so Dog Day, who explains that the entirety of Playcare is Catnap's playground for destruction, murder, and general acts of violence. Dog Day also explained that the Catnap takes orders from the prototype, worshipping and killing anyone who doesn't listen to his god. Shortly before his monologue ends, the mini smiling critters infest Dog Day before hijacking his body and chasing the player through it. The player escapes the possessed Dog Day of last hearing his screams before taking a slide out of Playhouse. Ollie then sends the player to the counselor's office as their final objective. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know exactly what Ollie looks like. All we know is that he's just some kid on the phone. All right, where they find a tape of a warning issued to Playtime Co. employees on August 8th, 1995. So the nothing is really said about it. However, it says here though of a warning issued to Playtime Co. This tape warns of a hostile force and to evacuate. The player briefly returns to the caverns as they make the way through the corridor through the counselor's office. As they enter a red smoke-infested area while they're trying to power the building, the player is then attacked by Catnap, who knocks the gas mask off their face and sends them into a dream state where Poppy asks the player rhetorical questions with various visions of shadow children in playcare. After rerouting the counselor's office backup power to the statue, Ollie gives the player the final battery required to power the gas production zone. They return to the zone, but Catnap ambushes them by filling the room with red smoke, chasing the player into an elevator. But the worst part about Catnap is he changes into something very not very good. Anyway, continuing with this, the player enters the safe room and is required to fend off Catnap for 3 minutes as he constantly toys with the player via hallucinations. A green grab pack hand receiver eventually overcharges, and the player utilizes to eliminate Catnap at the hand sacrifice. Catnap is electrocuted and it inadvertently lights himself on fire, exhaling the red smoke. The prototype's arm emerges from the ceiling, offering to assist Catnap before brutally taking his life. Returning to the gas production zone, the player uses the battery to power the console, finally diverting the gas and powering the area. Then they encounter Poppy, who shows them a tape containing CCTV footage of what happened to the player's co-workers and incidents the toys call the Hour of Joy, which we will come to it about now. So let's see what it says here.
Mm.
The tape shows Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, Boxy Boo, Mr. Light, Catnap, and other toys under the prototype's order, indiscriminately killing everyone present in the factory at the time. Poppy then explains that she had been thrown into the case the player found her at the time, but she had everything that happened and has since been distraught by the needless slaughter of so many. After including those who were innocent on that day, therefore she has vowed to put an end to the prototype for what he has done. Poppy and the player take an elevator deeper into the labs, into the factory, which leads to the labs, while Kissimisi stays behind to activate it. As the elevator lowers into the ground, Kissy is attacked by an unknown entity, and Poppy turns the elevator around to save her, but the door concealing the elevator closes, strangling the player and Poppy in the deeper levels of the factory, leaving Kissy's fate uncertain. So those were the three chapters. Now let's talk about what the Hour of Joy, which is the final VHS tape that we were shown back in chapter 3. So the tape starts with showing the incident's name before switching the camera footage of several employees walking in the main lobby. Once 11 a.m. had struck on that day, the bigger bodies went on a rampage. Huggy Wuggy began to ambush and attack everyone in the room. The next scene shows the game station where Mommy Longlegs began her attack on the employees by lifting them up and dropping them from lethal heights. Then we are shown the water treatment from a swarm of mini Huggy Wuggies and mini critters. Eventually, what do you do?
Just fixing the things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, eventually getting presumably devoured by them. The scene then changes to an employee in the school running from Mr. Light and her sisters into a room after being cornered by them in a hallway. The scene then cuts to Kissy Missy's relocation to Playcare and attacks some of the employees while transporting her, and then she chases after another employee who ran away when she attacked the other employees near her. Then Boxy is shown devouring employees whole and continuing his rampage elsewhere. After Catnap is shown walking in a circle in the playcare with the floor covered in human bodies while throwing someone into the stairs of the counselor's office. The tape shows a few other rooms now covered in bodies after the massacre. Finally, it switches to the exterior of the Poppy room and then ends with static. So I think if you go to the fandom page, you'd see literally what happens. So you see, for instance, a mummy who grabs the adults, well, the employees, and just smashes them to the floor. And I mean, the most intriguing one was actually the Mr. Light and her sisters, whom are all dead, weirdly. Next one, now we're gonna talk about Mr. Light. All right.
Who's
Now we
that?
need to talk. Now, Mr. Light is the teacher from the school of
Oh,
chapter
yes,
3.
yes.
I mean, editor, you know you're still free. I mean, you can show what Mr. Light looks like, and then when this episode comes out on Saturday, you will see what it really who she really looks like. Anyway, continuing with this, Mr. Light was one of at least 8 identical constructs who viewed each other as sisters, serving as teachers for the playcare. Following the hour of joy, they were locked within the school by the playcare guardian, who is Catnap. Mr. Light believed she heard something from the other side of the door, breathing, leading her to create her signature weapon she named as the Bob. Now, the Bob uh, is literally a stick with pencils sticking out of him. That's what it is.
Mm.
That's what the
Mhm.
Bob is. In case anything came through. Sometimes afterwards, her sisters cut her off from food, presumably due to harvesting food. As time went on, she slowly went insane and started to considering her weapon Bob as an actual person.
Okay.
But so her weapon suddenly became in her eyes became it became a fucking person. Okay. Bob eventually taught Mr. Light that if she stops moving and stands very still, the others will assume that she is dead. She relies on this tactic to ambush the other teachers, and later on attempts to use it on the player. Mr. Light kills her sisters off and consumes them to wear off her hunger. Okay, so we have a case of cannibalism. But my question is, if I'm sorry, if Mr. Light is supposed to be a quote unquote robot, actually, I want to know what the hell is the biology for her, really. Sometimes later, she found the door unlocked and discovered Catnap, whom she surmised was the one who locked the door. The two entered into a form of truce afterward, both relaying what they see to each other and the prototype. Let's see what else here. Let's see what says here as her as the thing as the in the trivia. All right. So she seems to be a reference to the real life Barbie doll, as a texture is built like a plastic posable doll. Her weapon is called the Bob, which could be a possible reference to the Barbie doll as well, due to it being a shortened version of that name. But Bob is also short for Barbara. However, it might also be because of its barbed appearance. After Miss Delight dies, if the player looks at the bulb, there's a name tag on the handle that says, "Hello, my name is Carmen." This could be a theory that her first name is or was Carmen, with her full name being Carmen Delight. What else does it says here? Let's see what else it says here about. Oh yes, according to prior information, Mr. Light is one of Mob Entertainment's favorite characters. Okay, next one is Dog Day. We need to let's look at his history. Now, Dog Day was initially launched alongside the remaining of the Smiling Critters, making headlines through both his merchandise and show entirely dedicated to the team. In these cartoons, Dog Day would be depicted as a leading figure who made attempts to uplift the mood to any situation, even in frightening ones. The Catnap Recall slash Smiling Critters cartoon. The events of the Smiling Critters cartoon, of one of many cartoons produced by Playtime Pictures, unfold at Doc Day's house on a stormy and windy night. Evident by the dark and unsettled atmosphere inside the house, a clock reads 10:05 p.m. Before switching to 10:06 p.m., all of the smiling critters, except for Catnap, are huddled together in the living room, wrapped in blankets and having worried expressions on their face. Bobby Bearhug says the howling wind is scary, and the tension increases as a branch snaps off a tree, causing Crafty Corn to cower under the blanket and says she can't sleep. All right, let's continue. All right, fuck it, let's continue. Let's keep going, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. After all right, Dog Day acknowledges the player's presence, revealing that he's the last of the smiling critters, implying that all other than him and Catnap had perished, referring to ex-employees as Poppy's Angel. Dog Day reveals that the many smiling critters follow Catnap to avoid similar fate to the originals, stating that all eyes are on the player and they must exercise caution. He continues stating that Catnap believes that the prototype is his god, and that he is held captive because of his alternate views towards the prototype, which were primarily against 1006 being the factory savior after the Hour of Joy, which was stated by Poppy Playtime to be mindless slaughter. Next one is we're going to talk about the Bigger Body Initiative, or also known as the experiments. So the first one is Experiment 1006, also known as the prototype. It was the 1006th experiment that Playtime Co. had created. Experiment 1006 is a mysterious entity that has a violent personality. He is also known as an unprecedented amount of intelligence and the ability to mimic any voice he hears. So there could be a theory that Ollie is the prototype because, of course, it can mimic any voice he hears. The prototype technically wasn't created as part of the Bigger Body Initiative, but he was created to prove that a human being could indeed be placed inside a toy body, with a candidate choice being orphan children. Next one, Experiment 1160, also known as Boxiboo. Experiment 1160 was the first successful Bigger Bodies Initiative experiment that Playtime Co. had created. Boxiboo is a box shaped figure with springs connecting to his body that has a joyful personality. He's also known to be very patient, as he waits for his prey to arrive when hungry. According to in-game terms, his debut was in Project Playtime. Next one, Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy. This was the 1170th. This was the 1170th experiment that Playtime Co. had created. Experiment 1170 is a tall, slender creature with blue fur that has an obedient personality. He used to be in charge of security. He is also known to react aggressively when faced with hostility. Next one, Experiment 1188. Previously known as Theodore Gramble, Experiment 1188, also known as Catnap, was the 1188th experiment that Playtime Co. had created. Actually, one thing. Experiment 1188 is an anthropomorphic purple furred cat with black eyes, a wide toothless smile, and a crescent moon pendant with greatly influenceable personality. He was the caretaker of Playcare. He's also known for his strange religious devotion toward the prototype and his ability to release a red smoke from the back of his esophagus that places individuals to in a deep sleep with the risk of violent nightmares. He used to be a member of the Smiling Critters toy line before he was recalled and removed from all promotional merchandise because of multiple reports of the same violent nightmares from children who owned a catnap toy. All right, next one. Experiment 1199. Previously known as Thomas Clark, Experiment 1199 was the 1199th experiment that Playtime Co. had created. Experiment 1199 is an enlarged bright red dinosaur that has a hard working personality. He's also known to be one of the few experiments that were not orphaned. The volunteer, Thomas Clark, had been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer and had his eyes, organs, and brain transplanted inside a bronze toy. He was unfortunately hurt by Boxiboo, losing his voice box and thyroid, and forced to be kept in solitary confinement, which is actually the rejected toys. Well, actually, not really, because otherwise we would have seen him come alive. Next one, Experiment 1222, previously known as Marie Payne. Experiment 1222, also known as Mommy Longlegs, was the 1222nd experiment that Playtime Co. had created. Experiment 1222 is a large, slender creature bearing an uncanny resemblance to a pink colored four legged spider that has a motherly personality and remarkably stretchy limbs, hair, and fingers thanks to an essential ingredient called elastic plastic. She was in charge of running the game station. She's also known to act aggressively towards anyone that fails her, disobeys her, cheats any game in the game station, or doesn't see her as a motherly figure. Now, what's Poppy's experiment name actually? Experiment number? Because it does not say it.
Red hip bitch. 1, 2, 3.
Is it?
I was just saying, man. It's not.
Okay,
Swear to
okay.
God.
So
Swear to
okay,
God,
so
if you
based
actually said, is it? Swear to God.
I did say it. So, okay, so based in here, it is theorized that Poppy Playtime is the adopted daughter of Elliot Ludwig. While the experiment was a success, Elliot isn't entirely sure what he did, which we know based on the note about experiment
He's playing
814
with life.
in
That ain't good.
in his
He's playing
office.
with
Yeah,
life.
I mean, of course, I mean it's similar to FNAF, but in this one is more like it's more of like experiments.
Hmm.
Mr. Light was not she was apparently not an experiment of any sort, but she was very cannibalistic. But apparently, her and her sisters were very cannibalistic. For Bonzo Bunny, he also does not have an experiment number. But of course, when it comes to the Bigger Bunny initiative, they all had it. Now we're gonna look through we're gonna look through every single VHS tape. Apparently,
Okay.
so weirdly, chapter three does not. Okay, so the first one is called the 1322 report void. So this is a VHS tape that was found in chapter three that can be obtained on one of the rooms in Home Sweet Home. The tape records a log regarding experiment 1322 before a conversation between the scientist and Joseph. Who the fuck is Joseph?
I don't
Okay,
even know, man.
exactly. So the tape starts with a log regarding neural abnormalities detected in experiment 1322, to which we don't know what it is, before a child named Joseph walks into the scientist recording the log, asking what they're doing to his friend Kevin. Joseph interrupts the log, asks if Kevin is sick. The scientist answering that Kevin is very sick and is in need of proper care. Joseph asks the scientist if Kevin would be okay. With the scientist telling him that he will be okay, after that, the scientist tells Joseph to go back to sleep and assures that Kevin would feel better than ever. So experiment 1322, it's not announced what it is, but we might see it in the next chapter,
Ooh.
chapter 4. Okay. The next one is called the 8895 emergency alert. So it's a VHS tape featuring a footage of an emergency alert system occurring on the 8th of August 1995 about Playtime Co. issuing a forced danger alert. Oh, mate. Oh, perfect. Oh, mate. I don't need to go through all that whole index. I can look through here. Mate, I'm so happy now. So fucking happy. All right, okay, I'm gonna come back. All right, so we're gonna go for the first uh, VHS tape, called which is called Pop Vintage Poppy Commercial. The tape
Mm.
introduces with a man walking towards the camera who is mentioned as Elliot Ludwig. Ludwig is seen proposing the new Poppy Playtime by showing the presumed yeah pro, the presumed uh, proposing the new Poppy Playtime by showing the presumed publishing department an ad entirely dedicated to Poppy Playtime, alongside offering tours at Playco's factory. A commercial for Poppy Playtime doll commences. A female narrator can be seen describing Poppy and her entertainment feature. Poppy Playtime gets her shoe polished, and later her hair brushed by request. As the narrator explains Poppy's realistic nature, Poppy exclaims that she is a quote unquote real girl just like you.
Either
The
she's
com
deluded or she's been experimented.
Of course she's an experiment. The commercial ends with the Playtime Co slogan, but for an unknown male narrator advises factory tours in the Playtime Co factory for a mere $3 a person. The tape cuts off itself and ends as the narrator speaks. Yeah, that's it. Actually, what's actually? Oh yeah, we already mentioned what Poppy Playtime's thing is. All right, next one is Leif Pierre closing. Leif Pierre, a tape initially meant to repeat overnight within the Playtime Co. Factory finally plays the player, inserts the VHS tape into the VCR. Leif Pierre's recorded voice makes a statement for any intruders that happen to break in during closing time. The tape serves as a purpose to encourage an intruder to leave the property by informing them of the security protocols. Leif Pierre explains the many motion detectors, emergency alarms that instantly inform the police if set, and that's one of the more tame aspects of the security system. Leif Pierre ends the VHS tape, giving any intruder his final warning. Next one is the security camera, Rich and Avery. This one, the tape starts with two employees named Rich and Avery having a discussion while moving boxes throughout playtime. Avery asks if Rich knows where the Huggy Wuggy boxes are being kept, while Rich responds by questioning the last time maintenance made a sweep of the area, which Avery responds unaware. Rich makes his point and starts to aggressively complain that nobody in the company knows what they're doing. He swears he never seen a box in its proper place ever since the storehouse has been flooded with orphanage junk. Every bit blindly agrees with Rich about his opinions. As Rich begins to calm down and
Where the fuck are you
admits,
getting these files from, mate?
who, me?
Yeah.
The Poppy Playtime fandom.com.
Okay, yo. Even I have not even heard of this bullshit. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is he on about?
No, 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 no.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like blindly agreeing with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because this I'm not sure where he's getting it from. So I was just like blindly agreeing.
From the Poppy Playtime wiki.
Yeah, yeah. But
All
like,
right. So I'm not making stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. You can check it up yourself on the Poppy
I mean,
Playtime
I didn't
fandom
know
yourself.
when we were saying, I was like, what the hell is he on about? So now you
Exactly.
told me, so I'm going to look up a bit later.
From where do you think I was reading from?
I thought you were just reading some fan theories or some shit like that.
Nah, it's not. Anyway,
Official
Rich.
shit.
Yes. Anyway, so Rich complains again to Avery about how manufacturing is always breathing down their necks and making it hard to be happy while working. After Avery tries to calm Rich down, Rich concludes by agreeing with Avery and that their work is important for the orphans. Rich only wishes there were less Huggy Wuggy boxes, wanting them to be more abidable. Rich then questions if abidable is even a word. Yeah, like you can even go ahead and read the transcript and the audio right here. Next one is called Stella Graber interview. Now, Stella Graber could potentially. I think there is a theory. So there is a theory that Stella Graber could be Mommy Longlegs, but I don't think that's true at all because we know it's Marie Payne or something. Okay, so all right. So next one is called yeah. So the Stella Graber interview. Stella Graber is very optimistic, explaining that at a young age, Stella would play with toys and describe the feeling as magical. The feeling of switching from her simple bedroom to an entire alternative world that Stella can control was such a great feeling. Stella, years later, explains that this same feeling can be felt when working for Playtime Corporation. Stella Graber continues wishing she can go back to her years as a child, however, is confused with her feeling, considering, as she puts it, because adults are just kids but older. But your body just gets older and older, then you die. Poof. Stella goes off topic and rambles about human life, explaining how humans can't live forever. However, she wishes for opportunity to live longer, similarly to a tree having the ability to live for decades until death. The interviewer cuts her off, stating that they had was a little off track before the tape cuts entirely off. Next one is called so the next one is called Final Log. All right. Now this was now the final log explains the scientists list the final log. Oh, in experiment 1006, which we explained earlier, where he was explaining about the prototype and the current state of the prototype until a monster came and killed him. To which now we can say that he was killed during the hour of joy. Okay, next one is a commercial for Mommy Longlegs, which has no plot but it has a video. But we're not gonna watch that. You can watch it at your own time. All right, this one is called The Elliot Ludwig Biography. This was from chapter 2, Fly in a Web. So this was a documentary dedicated to the beloved Elliot Ludwig, place as it covers how Ludwig founded and pushed through sad events within his life to create Playtime Co. The tape introduces itself with a small piano tune as the narrator describes Elliot Ludwig as divorced but a family man at heart. The tape continues by explaining that Ludwig had spent countless hours into his company to make his company one of the most well-known manufacturing company of all time, just like how Elon Musk did with Tesla. He sometimes would go ahead and sleep in his own office. After Ludwig faced a family death back in 1960, pushed him to his lowest. Elliot Ludwig continued to innovate his company to successfully fulfill his future dreams for Playtime Co. The tape explains that Ludwig never failed to abandon an unfinished project, then questions how Ludwig was able to create his factory despite the odds. The tape cuts itself off before revealing the date Ludwig started forming the company. The player later investigates. All right, next VHS tape is the Green Hand tutorial, which what did it do? Oh yes, it will hold electricity in the hand, and that's it. Musical memory tutorial, the tape. Okay, an unknown narrator is heard narrating the tape, welcoming the player to the musical memory game. He continues with the tape, describing the game as an advanced memory and cognitive test, which is true, that was designed to the player's memory. He continues the tape by describing how musical memory works, explaining that a sequence of colors will be projected onto the screens around the player, and the player must memorize and replicate the series of colors using the respective buttons. He continues to describe the game, explaining Bonzo Bunny's role in the game. Bonzo Bunny will slowly fall towards the player, and to raise Bonzo back up, you must complete the sequence of numbers. Entering an incorrect sequence will make Bonzo fall faster. Okay, he finalizes by explaining that as the game goes on, the game will proceed to be more difficult. He concludes by wishing them good luck. Okay, next one is called Security Camera Rich. So we heard the name Rich before, which was the from back in chapter one with Rich and Avery, with him being sent to the rejected room. So this is a 30-second tape, actually. The short tape shows the aftermath of Rich after the first recording, as seen in chapter 1, was sent to higher ups. Rich sarcastically explains that the Playtime Co. analyzed his complaints and resulted in him being sent down to the rejected room, where I don't know what he had to do with the... Yeah, which we don't know what he did there. Alright, next one is the Wacka Wuggy tutorial. An unknown masculine narrator is heard narrating the tape, welcoming the player to the Wacka Wuggy game. Yes, to the Wacka Wuggy game. He continues with the tape, explaining that the game in question is a test to see the player's capability in reactionary abilities. Before explaining the game, he informs the player that they will be equipped with a grab pack in order to fend off the lurking creatures. He continues to describe the game, explaining that around the Wacka Wuggy minigame, the will consist of 18 holes strewed through the room. Adorable, shrunken versions of Huggy Wuggy will pop out of the holes, and the player must use their grab pack to thrust their mechanical hand toward the Huggies, knocking them back temporarily. The narrator concludes the tape by wishing them the player good luck. Okay, next one. Marcus Brickley reprimanding, okay? So, Marcus Brickley, whom is, I think, yes, Marcus Brickley, played by Jacksepticeye, okay? Which, yes, in the trivia, it says that Marcus is played by Irish YouTuber Sean McLaughlin under the tag Jacksepticeye. So the tape plays with Leif Pierre asking Marcus if he can record the conversation, which Marcus agreed with a nervous tone. It seems common for employees to be nervous when being around Leif Pierre, with Rowan Stoll being another example. Leif Pierre continues by asking Marcus what he exactly saw. Marcus explains to Leif that he was about to go home for one night before realizing he left his wallet in the cafeteria. As soon as he found out, Marcus ran towards the cafeteria to grab his wallet back, however, stumbled upon a mop handle lodged under the innovation wingate, seeing how it was potentially dangerous. Marcus attempted to grab onto the handle before it started moving on its own. Marcus decided to take a peek beneath the gate before encountering a odd figure described as 50 feet long with 1,000 legs. So that could presumably be PJ Pugapillow. I don't know what else. It's mostly going to be Pugapillow. Leif Pierre was skeptical of Marcus's claims, stating that Marcus may have may have mistaken the figure for a series of people walking. Marcus refused this claim and swore that he indeed saw what he saw. Leif asked if he had told this to anybody else besides him, and Marcus stated that Leif was the only person who currently knew about the incident. Leif, still skeptical, told Marcus that he would simply skim the security system. In a fit of rage, Marcus explains that skimming the security system would not fix the issue at hand. Leif concluded the interview by kicking Marcus out of his office before stating that the company made toys and not monsters. As Marcus lifted himself off the seat he was sitting in, Leif asks Marcus to fetch off him coffee before backtracking and asking him to leave his office for a second time. So, of course, I did say that it could be PJ Parker. Poor Sean, man. Anyway, the next tutorial is the statues game for chapter 2. An unknown narrator is heard narrating the tape, welcoming the player to the statues game. He continues with the tape, explaining that the game is an advanced obstacle course designed to test the player physical endurance and strength. The narrator explains that the rules are simple, with said rules being to only move when the lights are off. When the lights are on, stand completely still. You're only allowed to turn around upon the lights turning on. The narrator finalizes the tape by explaining the main gimmick of the game. That being the lovable PJ Bugapilla, chasing you through the whole way through the game, chasing you as you go through the game. PJ can walk when the lights are on and off, and if the PJ reaches you, the test is officially over. The narrator concludes the tape by wishing the player. Next VHS tape is called the Jimmy Roth interview, which was which I think involved another YouTube star. I think there's no trivia here, but okay, okay. So the tape, okay, so an interview between Jimmy Roth and an unknown employee working for BPNN, sounds like CNN, but I don't think so, is seen interviewing Jimmy regarding his skills in marketing and his role in the rise of Playtime Co. The interviewer introduces Jimmy before asking how did he contribute to the rise of Playtime Co. For the next few seconds, Jimmy rambles about specifically toy names about and how adding the E to any marketable toy will result in maximum profits. Jimmy lists examples such as Huggy, Mummy, and Jimmy. Even comments on how Elliot did back with Poppy. The interviewer attempts to say how this could work. However, Jimmy Roth completely interrupts the interviewer and starts rambling about the interviewer's favorite color being blue. The interviewer, however, comments uh, with his favorite color being green. Jimmy quickly concludes that the question by explaining that Playtime Co. should be better known for their marketing instead of their mascot. The next VHS tape is called PSA Spider. This is a pre-recorded VHS tape announcement narrated by an unknown man. The unknown announcer attempts to debunk the recent complaints involving a very, very big spider. The encounter directly quotes Playtime's co-response with stating that the large-scale spiders do not exist. The announcer continues to quote them with Playtime Co stating, "And if they did, we would all be dead anyways." The announcer concludes by assuring customers that specialists will examine the area to stop the whining. The announcer goes off script, claiming that employees for the Playtime Corp only complain, and it's just simply a spider. So the theory for it is that the very very big spider is heavily implied to Mommy Longlegs. It is unknown how Mommy escaped captivity. However, Mommy was not hostile at the time due to tourists, presumably primarily being children, and the transfer request reveals that Mommy Longlegs is heartwarming towards children and hostile towards employees.
She's a pretty
Okay,
bitch. That's what she is.
exactly. Next one is called the log 08502. Now, okay, so an unknown scientist lists the video with the log of 08502 in relation to experiment 1006, which who also undergoes under the alias the prototype. The scientist logs an incident regarding the prototype escaping captivity. The scientist goes more in depth on how the prototype escaped, explaining that it disassembled a digital alarm and utilized a battery to create a laser pointer, disabling the security systems and giving the prototype 28.3 seconds of unmonitored surveillance. After regaining access to the cameras, the room seemed to appear empty. A female surveillance specialist goes to examine the room before catching the prototype hiding in the camera's blind spot. The prototype would later attempt to escape through an open door before yet another surveillance specialist remotely locks the door, leaving the previous specialist locked with the prototype. Unfortunately, she died to the hands of the prototype. Studies of the prototype shows that the prototype possesses an unprecedented level of intelligence beyond that of all other test subjects, along with a careless willingness to commit violence. The scientists suggest that any future experiment treatments will need to be enacted to ensure that no other experiment develops said qualities. The scientist concludes the tape by logging experiment 1170, who continues to be the most successful experiment, having maximum obedience and average intelligence. Those are all of the VHS tapes for chapter 2. Now, chapter 3. Play care introductions. So this was the VHS tape that would play when the player would enter the cable car. That's it, which is the Elliott Express. That's it. All right, I'm joking. Next one, Claire Harper debrief. So this one can be obtained in one of the rooms outside the trash compactor. The tape records a conversation between an unnamed counselor and Claire Harper. So, an unnamed counselor began asking questions to Claire Harper of what happened about the incident involving Marie Payne, a girl under Harper's care. Harper began explaining that after Catnap put the children to sleep with the red smoke, Marie saw something terrible that makes her start screaming and move erratically. At first, Harper thought she was having nightmares, but when she comes to Marie, she can feel her skin was hot to touch. Her eyes were dilated and her lips turned blue. The counselor asked Harper if Marie can describe of what she saw, which Harper confirms according to Marie it was a colorless monster. If Marie can describe of what she saw, which Harper confirms, Harper wants to check on Marie, only to be denied by the counselor as she claims that Marie was being monitored by medical employees and assured Harper she will be all right. Harper snapped at the counselor, yelling that she only wants Marie to be returned to her. Yes. All right. Next one is called. We're not gonna go for the grab pack one. All right. Welcome to playtime. All right. So the tape begins with an image of Huggy Wuggy's regular and happy face, with a supervisor speaking, welcoming the new employees to Playtime Co., saying that they will find their new family very loving and supporting as their own. The supervisor then happily tells them to wander the halls, sit in the mess hall, or watch the children. The man then offers them to join the science and innovationists or the plague counselors, with the supervisor happy to listen. However, from this point onwards, due to the effects of catnap gas, the tape becomes more and more frightening, with Huggy's face becoming creepier and twisted, and the supervisor calling the player out for returning to the Playtime Co. years later in a sadistic manner and eerie tone of voice, saying that the toys are watching and waiting to eat the player. The tape ends with the man saying, "Welcome home," before a monstrous, nightmarish version of Huggy crawls out of the TV to chase the player down a dead end hallway. Next one is Samuel Lee's Last Day. All right, so this tape can be found inside one of the cupboards from Home Sweet Home. So the tape begins with the noises of children celebrating an adoption in the playcare. Miss Brooks tells Dr. White that they would not miss an adoption. Two children asks Miss Brooks who is going to get adopted, shushing them after. Miss Brooks tells the other children that Samuel Lee is going to get adopted. To the cheers of the crowd, Miss Brooks tells them to say one last goodbye. The tape ends with all the children all together saying one last goodbye to Samuel Lee and applauding as he leaves. All right, next one is 1322 report void, which we already explained it earlier. Next one is illegible writing. So this is found inside the school. All right, all right. This is found inside the school. During this tape, Miss Delight talks about how she met a mysterious person, most likely Catnap, and how she had asked about the kids and where they were. When she asked to see them, however, Captain Catnap told her that she can't. She states how that's all she was told. She then starts laughing, saying that that Catnap might
Kite
have
nap.
known Kitenap. Catnap, for fuck's sakes. Uh, oh man,
Tiring, isn't it?
it's long, man. We're talking about a game that came out in October 2021. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, yes. So Catnap might have known that she'd killed them all. The tape ends with her insane laughter, which means that Miss Delight would actually go ahead and kill the children, which is exactly what it says here. All right, next one. Stuart and Rich, another VHS tape.
How much is left, mate? It's too long.
Bruh. I mean, we still have one, two, three, and four more to read.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. It begins with Rich complaining about the elevator. Stuart, Rich start talking about the place, saying that the kids should have real sunlight and sky instead of the painted sky and lights. Stuart then brings up that since his retirement is coming, he has to consider giving the role to someone else, and that someone is Rich. Rich comments that he's glad to that not everyone in this place is out him, and the tape ends. So I couldn't understand anything that was said there. Next one is the catnap check-in. Sounds something like what is it? Sounds like something at an airport. Anyway, so the date is not confirmed, but we say it's 1995. While Boggo keeps eating, I will keep talking. Okay. Leif Pierre goes and visit Catnaps, aka Theodore Gramble, in the prison. He starts talking about how Theo has done very well in his new body, and how this was his fourth year in the body of Catnap. When Catnap doesn't respond, Leith asks if his voice box is still broken, only for Catnap to say, "The prototype will save us." Leith then tells Catnap, despite the fact that he's let out to the kids in playcare, this prison is was where he belonged, and the prototype's home was in the labs. Next one is the Hartman incident. So the Hartman incident is a tape where the conversation between Stella Graber and Mr. Hartman regarding an adoption for an orphan child named Jeremy. So the head of Playcare herself, after being promoted up the ranks, Stella Graber, is talking to the two parents who wish to drop off a child and adopt a new one. Okay. Of course, they find the child of the parents' liking, but he is mysteriously marked for testing. Stella is confused by this, and the parents grow worrisome before the recording cuts out. So it appears that not even the higher ups in the company understood what was happening with the children at Playcare. The child that could be marked for testing could possibly be the one we see in the leaving tape, where a child has been chosen by a scientist to be taken away. Next one is called log 24459, which can be obtained in the sealed lift. So, which is a conversation between Harley Sawyer and the prototype. So Harley Sawyer lists the video with the log code of 24459 in relation to experiment 1006, who also undergoes the alias the prototype. Harley was originally going to be his log discoveries about the prototype. The prototype then makes an unintelligible noise, catching Harley's attention to ask him a question. Harley responds to experiment 1006's question of being able to feel pain or not. After that, Harley mentioned that there is a secret inside the prototype, something he claims to be extremely valuable. The prototype thanks Harley, telling him that he learns something new about him every day whilst mimicking his voice. I need to look through that log myself.
There's a bit. Some of the things we haven't found out from the games. People just had to dig through.
I mean, I know. I mean, I don't think you can hear it, can you? Because I'm literally listening to it. Okay. I'm sorry, Laser, you can't hear it, but it's very interesting. It's actually the conversation. So apparently, based on what I've listened from the VHS tape, I understood that the prototype can just mimic any voices, and
Mm,
apparently it ends saying, "I learned something new about you every day," while mimicking the interviewer's voice, which means that I'm saying that for chapter 4, it's gonna be fucking hell broken loose, we can
mm,
say. Yeah. So, and the last one is of course the Hour of Joy, where the tape starts showing the incident where the bigger bodies went on a rampage. Huggy Wuggy began attacking everyone in the room. Mummy Longlegs began attacking the employees. Uh, then the mini Huggies and mini Critters uh, began devouring the employees. Then in the school, it was seen an employee running from Miss Delight and her sisters into a room after he was cornered. Then cuts to Kissy Missy's relocation to play care and attacks some of the employees while transporting her. Then Boxyboo devours employees whole. Catnap doing the exact same thing but at the play care, and then throwing someone down the stairs of the counselor's office. And then, of course, at the end, it shows the bodies that were left after the hour of joy. But this is the thing: it was not only the employees that was there; even normal, even just your average person was killed.
mm.
Which the theory could be that the prototype may have brainwashed them into killing the adults. What else is here for Poppy Playtime apart from the chapters? I mean, of course, there is the multiplayer game, the
Mm.
Project Playtime.
I mean, that's how much have it has it released? They've been like doing that for like.
I mean, they've been doing it for a few years, as a matter of fact.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, there isn't much. I mean, there is nothing more really because of course I mean, we can talk about there is what is it, the ARG VHS tapes, which are like, yeah, which are, some of them were released primarily on YouTube, and then some of them were actually within the game. So for instance, the infamous catnap recall, which involves how what was it, the catnap toy
mm,
that was publicized to the children. Well, that was released in shops. What was it? It had to be withdrawn from public because what happened was the catnap toy would would apparently give children nightmares, because remember, it contained the red smoke inside,
yeah, yeah.
and because the red smoke would give also hallucination. Many children, were had complained about seeing nightmares, recurring nightmares, and that's it. That's pretty much what happened. And so the company had to recall all of the toys and end it like that. Then there is the Rowan Stoll recordings, which is three recordings done by an employee
Mm,
called Rowan Stoll on his FTP server. So, recording number one, in the database, when unlocking and playing the video, an unknown man known as Rowan Stoll attempts to catch the attention of Leith Pierre regarding the possibility that the eyes in the Huggy Wuggy statue secretly holds nanny cameras. Multiple tour guests complain the Huggy Wuggy stares at the children. Although seeming like a joke, Rowan believes that these rumors are true. Next recording is from the same person. Rowan is now seen backtracking on his previous statements, claiming that he went to interview the maintenance guy, and the man simply failed to lock Huggy Wuggy's eyes in place, causing his eyes to dangle. Rowan tells Leith that there will be no more videos coming from him. Clearly, he found out about the bigger body initiative. Next, the last recording, which is recording number 3. This final video Rowan makes claiming that he's about to die. Playtime Co. is aware that Rowan is onto them and have been continuously sabotaging him by taking away his pension and writing him up constantly. There was even an attempt to murder him 4 days prior. Someone loosened the bolts holding one of the tires of Rowan's car, causing him to nearly die from a car crash on the interstate, also known as a motorway. Rowan plans on running away and trying to survive, but not before releasing all the evidence he found of Playtime Code's experiment in 1 week's time. Rowan's plan on having the server shut down for maintenance so that he can upload all of his findings. Rowan claims that Playtime Co. has something that eats people alive, that he will be the next victim. He's also horrified of Leith Pierre, claiming he's someone else entirely compared to how he is normally. Rowan laments on the fact that he couldn't do more, despite his high level of excess. He wonders if Playtime Co. hired him since he never questioned anything. Rowan ends the tape urging anyone who finds it to bring the evidence to the police. Okay, there is apparently a story about the Bigger Body Initiative. Actually, the history of Body Initiative. All right, so the of course we know the Bigger Body Initiative was to experiment employees or orphans into making massive toys. So Harley Sawyer, also known as the Doctor, approached Playtime Co.'s executive in the late 1980s or early 1990s with a solution for the company's ongoing problems. Incidents of lower level employees witnessing confidential experiments and decreasing profits were causing Playtime Co. to crumble. Harley proposed the development of giant toys to increase the workforce and cut costs as a potential solution. After the Bigger Bodies initiative was accepted, Playtime Co. built the game station to test their orphans as their minds could easily be molded into subservient workers. An orphan was assigned a toy and had to complete 3 minigames which tested the brain speed and efficiency, reaction time, and physical endurance and strength. As they played the games, scientists monitored their progress from nearby observation rooms, recorded their performance, then sent the assessment to Stella Graber. If they did well, the orphans would be sent back to play care, where scientists used poppy gas in the experiment to turn them into their assigned toy. So technically, the poppy gas is just an anesthesia, but red. Imagine if they used the poppy gas, but in hospitals.
Gonna hallucinate at the same time.
You're gonna sleep and then you're gonna start hallucinating shit like, yo, what happened? I went to I went to do a surgery and then now all of a sudden I started seeing an M4A1 flying through the sky. Whatever shit hallucination you end up getting. However, this procedure had an unintended side effect. The experiment didn't remember who they were, but they remember event and locations that they were familiar with and felt safe. Okay, by March 30th, 1991, via Harley's leadership, Playtime Co. had created multiple experiments to aid in different parts of the factory. Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy served as the factory security. 1222, Mommy Longless served as this game station's host. 1188, Catnap was the caretaker of Playcare, and Boxy Boo, presumably experiment 1160, served as the last resort for disposing any lower-ended employees aware of their initiative. The experiments were a mixture of orphans and employees. Through some employees volunteered and others were forced. They also created a Bigger Bodies handbook and relocation guide to implement into employees training, presumably in case the experiments were ever rebelled or to keep lower-ended employees in the dark. Playtime Co. placed toy parts inside the puzzle pillars so they could continue to build more giant toys. However, experiment 1006, the prototype did not want the Bigger Bodies initiative to continue. and began to sabotage Playtime's co-progress, presumably after he escaped confinement. Okay. On July 18th, 1992, Huggy Wuggy escaped Playtime Co. after accessing the ventilation system, killing five of the security team employees sent to get him and causing the other six to go missing. Before he was finally sedated and captured while standing in front of a house, presumably to be his foster home, this implies that the orphan soul inside Huggy was scared and wanted to return to a familiar location. On August 8, 1995, at precisely 11 a.m., Prototype incited a massive rebellion that led to the deaths of many Playtime co-scientists and employees, forcing the higher-ups employees to flee the factory. Once the events had concluded, the experiment dragged the corpses to the deepest reaches of the factory, consumed them to survive. After this accident, Leif PS sent in resource extraction specialists to collect toy parts in the puzzle pillars, while the prototype sent savage monsters such as Huggy, Mummy, and Boxy, as soon as Catnap and PJ Caterpillar, to stop them use their bodies to feed the starving experiments around the factory, such as Wuggies. Alright, this is the last part, the aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Finally, I'm literally like looking through the wiki, reading the whole thing. Man,
Are
look
you?
where I put it, bro.
What?
I just put it on top of my hair because it was getting so hot in my ear. I was like, "Bunny, I'll just put it."
Yeah, okay. Okay, this is the last part. Eventually, Playtime Corp stopped sending in the resources extraction specialist, and the Bigger Body initiative came to a close. Unfortunately for the experiment, this left them without a steady source of food. Through the prototype, they didn't require sustenance to survive. The other toys could only survive on a larger portions of food. The monsters, now desperate and out of options, began to consume the smaller toys to survive. Any spare toys or toy parts that the monsters left behind were grafted onto the prototype, which revived them and presumably assembled them onto his body. This method kept the malnourished experiments alive until eventual return of the player. Ah, fucking hell! That's the entire story. That's literally the entire story of Poppy Playtime up to chapter 3. Yes, but
Mm-hmm.
we should talk about the Bigger Body initiative, what each experiment represented. We had to talk about the plots of the gameplay. We had to also talk about the history of the Bigger Body initiative. We had to talk about the history of Miss Delight. We had to talk about the entire history of Dog Day, and we had to talk about the entire timeline, especially with the what do you call it? Especially with the VHS tapes, and we also had to talk about the ARG VHS tapes. And that was long. But imagine if we did that for FNAF. We would have been here three. We would have been here for 5 hours. Trust me.
Bloody hell, yeah, true.
If we had the entire timeline, the entire VHS tapes, and the entirety of everything, I would have been sat here 5 hours just explaining everything. But honestly, you know what? Poppy Playtime is a good game. However, the problem is when people make a parody out of it. You know, now are you familiar with Darman?
Yeah, I think I heard of
Yes.
it.
So there are many like copycats of him. Okay, many copycats, and one of them was someone decided to make a video based in an airline where for some reason they added, and I kid you not, Huggy Wuggy and Poppy as a hallucination. First of all, that's so out of touch with reality. And second of all, it's a video game. Stop milking it so dry, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it alone. It's supposed to be a horror puzzle game, not to be mocked, all right? I mean, I'm not here to defend Poppy Playtime, okay? Because I actually used to be in their Discord server, but then I left because they support Let's Get Biryani Together group,
What?
LGBT. Don't you you know how LGBT stands for lesbian, gay, bi, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
trans, yeah? So some people so someone actually said rather than saying LGBT, say someone asked, what does LGBT stands for? He said, let's get biryani together.
Fucking hell, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah. That's a good one. Or this was one that I created, which is let's go bomb Tel Aviv.
Let's get what?
Let's go bomb Tel Aviv,
What's that?
the capital of Israel.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe. Oh, perhaps it could be the next. It could be the next Pokemon game. Let's go Bulbasaur time. Ooh, actually. Yeah. Anyway. Yes. Let's conclude it right here. Let's conclude this video on Poppy's Playtime, the
So what do
entire
you think
history of
chapter 4 is
Poppy
going to be
Playtime.
about?
Because I do say chapter 4 could perhaps be could perhaps be the final chapter, or we might have the final chapter then an epilogue.
Ooh, okay, that's good. I think I agree with you, except I think it might go with the bendy and the ink machine direction.
Could be, yeah.
So basically, his story finishes. The person. Do you know who the person went in? Who has a backpack like the character you play as? Do you know who he is?
It's just called the player. But
The player. Was he a worker? Was he anything like that?
apparently he's an ex employee at at the factory. So yeah.
So, um, uh, so, so after we finish his story, they're gonna move on to like someone else going to like another factory or something like that. Like how FNAF was it? You remember?
What do you mean with FNAF?
FNAF 1 came out, it was like, oh, that was a good game. Then FNAF 2 came out, people thought it was a sequel, but it wasn't a sequel, it was a prequel or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
could be. Could be. We
good
don't know.
so you don't know, like, But I do look forward to chapter 4. I can't wait for it. The theories and shit.
Honestly, yeah, pretty much. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, let's end it right here. I want to say to you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to keep subscribing to this channel. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, link down in the description. Follow our social medias, link down in the
And
description.
and recommend what else to talk about, topics.
And on our Instagram, which is literally Regibogcast, please DM us. Please actually DM us some recommendation the for any topics, and we will talk about it, but make sure it's some topics that could be interesting, nothing stupid, nothing retarded or anything, okay? So, or else if you can't do that, you can leave a comment down here, down in these videos. And yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you and peace.